Hello everyone, Cindy here with Monarch Mom DIY. Thank you so much for joining me today on my channel where I love to bring you my best tips and tools to inspire you to create beautiful home decor on a budget. Today I'm here with 4 quick and easy Dollar Tree home decor DIYs that you can make using items that are pretty much regularly found at Dollar Tree. These are non-seasonal, some farmhouse, and I really hope you enjoy these projects. With all that being said, let's get crafting. For today's first DIY, we're going to make this home hanger sign using some items that I've had in my craft stash. 4 of these scalloped plaques, a toilet plunger handle, this home sign, and the wood wallpaper. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the home sign from the stand, and then I'm going to cut apart the 3 letters that I'm going to use, the E, the M, and the H. This is MDF on the back of the thin metal, so just use a strong pair of scissors and that E goes flying. Now, of course, you can make this project a lot simpler by just purchasing wood letters like from Hobby Lobby to spell, but I wanted to use this standing sign that I've had in my stash. Next, taking these 4 chunky wood scalloped signs hanging with the little jute twine there, I'm just going to smooth out the rough edges with a little bit of sandpaper before we stain them with antique wax. I'm going to stain on the sides and the back, leaving the front unpainted. Now that our wood pieces are smoothed out, I'm just going to remove the jute twine before we stain them. I was just untying the knots on all of these rather than cutting them, thinking I would reuse the twine, but I do end up using something else to hang them in the final project. So then using my baby wipe method, I'm just going to dip it in the antique wax and rub that along the side edges, trying to get in all the little grooves, and then we will stain the back as well. Next, while our chunky wood pieces are drying, I decided to use the back side of these 3 letters. And so I'm just giving them a coat of Waverly chalk paint in the color ink. I'm going to paint the backs here, which will be the fronts, and I'm also going to go around the side edges of that brown colored MDF. Next, I'm going to take this wooden handle for a toilet plunger from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to do my best to remove the label, just peeling it off and getting it off as much as I can. And then we're going to paint this black as well. Now that our chunky wood pieces are dry, I'm going to take them one at a time and I'm going to put them face down on the back of this wood looking wallpaper from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to trace around the front side and cut that out. We're going to do this for all 4 of our chunky wood pieces. Then we'll go ahead and cut those out. I am cutting on the outside of the pen mark. This is going to make it easier to line them up onto the wood. And then once they're dry, we can sand away any excess from the edges. Now before we attach this sticky wallpaper to the front of our plaques, I am smoothing them out a little bit with sandpaper, and then I'm going to apply a thin layer of my matte finish Mod Podge to the front side of each of the plaques before laying down the sticky piece of wallpaper. So it is a sticker, but I am using the added adhesive of the Mod Podge to hold it to the wood permanently. And we'll do that same process to all 4 of our wood plaques. You'll notice too that with that Mod Podge, it does allow you to be able to move that piece of sticky wallpaper around just a little bit to make sure that all the spaces, all the sides of the front of that wood plaque are completely covered. Once we had all the paper on and it was dried, I'm going to take a little piece of sandpaper and just go around those edges in a downward motion to get off any excess of the wallpaper. Then using a little stylus, I'm going to find that hole that's in the plaque and just poke that hole through our wallpaper so that we'll be able to hang these plaques. Then I'm just going to lay out my letters that I painted and the little greenery wreath that we took off of the standing sign from Dollar Tree. And I love how these black letters look on this wood type of paper. I'm just going to apply hot glue to the back and center each of these onto the hanging scalloped plaque. Instead of jute twine, I decided to use some thin satin black ribbon that I had in my stash. So I'm cutting a pretty long piece, folding it in half and poking it through that hole until it gets all the way to the back. And then I will pull the loop through the back there and then take the 2 ends to tie the ribbon onto each of the plaques. Then you can see once we have the ribbon on each plaque, I'm just going to lay them across the plunger handle here and tie them at different lengths, just tying a knot in the ribbons so that each of my letters will hang at a slightly different length. Then once I have them the length I want, I'll just trim away the excess of the ribbon for each letter. To finish the farmhouse look of this and to keep our letter ribbons from sliding off the plunger handle, I am going to hot glue and then wrap some jute twine around both ends of the plunger handle. Like I said, just to finish off that farmhouse look and keep our ribbons from sliding off. Then the last thing we're going to do is tie one more piece of jute twine to those two sides and have it a good length for hanging on the wall. And here it is. I love that I took this handful of supplies from Dollar Tree and turned them into something completely unique. If you're stopping by my channel for the first time today, welcome. I'm so glad that you found me. I sure hope you enjoy what you see and you'll consider sticking around by hitting that subscribe button. Also, be sure to tap that bell, set your notifications to all, so YouTube will let you know each time I go live on my channel or upload a new video. For DIY number 2, we're going to take this wooden birdhouse plaque that's actually from Walmart, but you could do this with any house type of shape from Dollar Tree as well. These rub-ons from Dollar Tree, and then these wood word stickers from Hobby Lobby. I'm using a new Waverly color here that I've maybe only used once or twice. This is called lavender, and my Walmart only has it in the very small containers, but I'm just going to give this wood birdhouse a coat of lavender on the front here and on the sides, and then we'll come back in with black for the roof. Once our birdhouse is dry, I'm going to take some pieces of these rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree. I like these greenery ones, but you could definitely use any that they have. You could make this birdhouse with some pretty French script words all over it. I've seen different types of rub-on transfers at Dollar Tree. So what I'm going to do is take a few of these straight pieces and put them kind of along the bottom. Then I'm going to take some different pieces that are a little more curved and create my own wreath to go around the hole in the birdhouse. The wreath that's on the sheet is just a little bit too small, so I'm going to create my own with some of the extra little pieces. Once I had my rub-on transfers how I wanted them, I'm going to take this wood word sticker from Hobby Lobby. This one says happy. There's a lot of choices for words that you can put on projects, and I'm just going to color it black with a black Sharpie marker to match the black of the roof. I'm just going to color this with the Sharpie marker, and then we'll stick it on the front of our birdhouse. Before I did that though, I did decide to just roughen up the edges of the birdhouse a little bit, give it a little bit more of a worn kind of farmhouse look. So I went along the roof line, exposing some of that natural wood, and then we'll do the same thing going around the lavender that is painted on the actual birdhouse. Now I decided to repurpose the stand from the home sign that we used in the first project. I'm just going to put some hot glue on the bottom of my birdhouse and glue it down to this little stand that the home word was on. If you don't have that, you can definitely make a base for your birdhouse out of tumbling tower blocks. And here's our finished birdhouse. I love it. Literally the possibilities are endless with how you could decorate this with different paint colors and rub-on transfers. If you love budget home decor DIY videos like this, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and leaving a comment or two. That lets YouTube know people are enjoying my content and they'll show it to more and more viewers. For DIY number 3, we're going to use some of the new wallpapers from Dollar Tree as well as these stickers for the wall. 2 of these dry erase board frames, an 11 by 14 canvas board, some tumbling tower blocks. We're going to make a trio of really pretty wall art. So the first thing I'm going to do here, because I'm going to end up making a window frame for our largest piece, is I'm going to take sets of 3, or I'm going to glue together sets of 3 tumbling tower blocks. Now, before I started gluing, I laid out my blocks. I measured how many I needed. So I'm breaking this down to make 12 sets of 3, so 36 blocks. And we're going to start out by gluing them together in sticks of 3 with our super glue wood glue and letting those dry completely. Once those are dry, I'm going to make 6 of those sticks into 3 longer ones. So I'm going to take 2 sets of 3 and glue them together to make a set of 6. And we're going to do this 3 times. That will leave 6 more sticks that are only 3 blocks long. Now I didn't show this on film, but for my size canvas board that I'm using, I did also need to take 3 more tumbling tower blocks and cut them in half. And I'm taking a half of a piece and gluing it onto each of my sticks that are 3 sticks long. So now I have 3 sticks of blocks that are 6 blocks long, and I have 6 sticks of blocks that are 3.5 blocks long. And these are using tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. And my canvas board that I'm making this frame for is 11 by 14. Now that all the wood glue is dry, I am going to take my little sander and smooth out all of my sticks. I do this to get any excess wood glue, but also if there's little differences in the heights of the blocks, the sanding helps smooth that out a little bit more. So I'm going to go through and sand all of these sticks of blocks. Once those are all sanded, I'm going to use my black chalk paint again, and I'm going to paint my sticks of blocks. I'm going to paint them on all of the sides and the ends except for one of the skinny sides. So this is a wide flat space. I'm going to paint all of them here, and then all the other sides except for one of the skinny sides, because that's how I'm going to glue them down onto my canvas. So here is the canvas panel I'm using. It's 11 by 14. I am flipping it over to the back side because it is smoother, and I thought that it would be easier to stick down this gorgeous sticky wallpaper. I love this. I love the birds. I love that it's got some shimmer to it. Before I stick it on though, I decided I could trim it a little bit so that it's not hanging off. So I'm going to make some marks and trim a little off the bottom and a little bit off the right hand side. Isn't it so beautiful? I would love to buy multiples of these artwork, this wallpaper, and put them somewhere, but I'm not exactly sure where. So I'm going to peel off that first section there on the left and get it lined up on the back side of my canvas panel. And I was glad I chose to put it down on the back side of the canvas panel because I do think it's going to stick a lot better than it would on the actual canvas part. So just smoothing it out as we go. I intentionally left some white space around the edges because we're going to be gluing our window frame pieces over the top of this. Now I decided to use a couple of these dry erase framed boards from my stash to make 2 smaller pieces that would coordinate with the larger piece. So I'm first going to tape off the dry erase board on the front because you cannot remove that from the frame very easily. So we're going to put painter's tape around, and then I'm going to paint these wooden frames black as well to match the frame that we're going to put over the birds and flowers. So for these 2 smaller framed signs, I'm going to use 2 pieces of this really pretty gold kind of leaf. Now these are super sticky, so you're going to want to put them down a little bit at a time, like start at the top. But the good thing is I was able to peel it up a little bit if it's stuck down where I didn't want it. So get that top leaf down and then kind of try to smooth it and get everything straight as you go. These are supposed to be repositionable on a wall, so they are easy to pull up. Just be careful not to rip them. So I'm going to do one facing to curving to the right, and then the other one I'm going to do curving to the left, and then you've got one piece left over. Now that I have the two smaller pieces done, I'm going to take some hot glue and I'm going to go around the edges of this canvas panel one piece at a time. So I'm going to start by putting one of my longer pieces of the blocks. This is a 6-block stick, and I'm gluing it down at the very top of our canvas panel on one of its skinny sides. Then I'm going to take two of my sticks that are 3.5 blocks long, and I'm going to come down from there on the sides. You're going to see I'm going to build this window frame on top of this canvas panel one little section at a time, and I love how this turned out. Once I have all those window frame pieces glued down, I'm going to flip this over to the back and reinforce. But here's how our 3 pieces look. I left the jute twine on those smaller pieces because I thought it'd be really cute to hang those next to the window. What do you guys think? DIY number 4 is super simple. I wanted to show how you can take a printable from Etsy and just turn any of these Dollar Tree jars into some vintage looking farmhouse decor. I really like these straight jars that have the metal screw top lids. I believe they come in at least a couple different sizes. This is just the one that I had in my stash. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a coat of Waverly chalk paint in ivory. And I will also put the link in the description here of the Etsy listing where I got the label that I'm going to use. The listing did have 4 different labels on the one sheet, and I just printed it onto printable rice paper, but you could definitely just print it on regular paper. So give your jar a pretty thick coat of the ivory paint, and then I did let this sit overnight just to make sure that it was completely dry. Then taking a baby wipe and the antique wax, you can see I'm going to grunge up our jar here. I want to get it a little closer to the color of the label. It doesn't have to match perfectly, but just not so stark perfect with the paint. So I'm going to use the baby wipe and rub some of the antique wax on. The baby wipe also takes some of the excess off. Then I'm going to come back in with a paper towel to kind of smudge it and dry it at the same time. And you can also come back in with the baby wipe if you want to take a little bit more of the antique wax off. I liked how it was giving a very streaky kind of look, and you see there, maybe you saw, I did pull a little bit of the paint off in one area, but that's okay. I'm going to cover that with my label. I went with the honey label, but there were, like I said, 3 others, and I believe this shop even had a few other listings that had some other types of labels. I think this would be really cute in a farmhouse kitchen to do some different size jars with the different labels. So I put a little matte finish Mod Podge, spritzed a little water on the back of my label so that it's going to stick really well to that Mod Podge, and then we're going to press that down and get it nice and flat with no air bubbles. Once that was down, I did come back in on top of the Mod Podge there on the edges and just kind of tried to add a little bit more antique wax to blend it into the jar. And here's my finished jar. I did take the lid out and spray it with a matte black spray paint, and I will spray the jar with clear to seal everything in as well. Thanks again so much for joining me today. Please let me know in the comments which of these projects was your favorite, and we'll see you next time. Take care.